Consider this. After that 6-7 phenomenon went viral, many of you likely began to notice that number sequence with startling frequency on clocks, in your language, in addresses, in receipts. Similarly, when you decide to buy that particular vehicle, all of a sudden you see that model everywhere on the street. What you experience is called a frequency illusion. So once a stimulus enters our conscious awareness, our attentional filters begin to recalibrate. We notice, we encode, and we start to recall instances that match our expectations, while equivalent counter evidence passes relatively unregistered. So when the stimulus is neutral, like 6-7, numbers, cars, this selectivity is really benign. But our emotional states exploit the same neural architecture with far more serious consequences. And this is a point of my conversation today. So when you're experiencing depression, anxiety, or chronic stress, our attentional system becomes selectively attuned to threat congruent and mood congruent information. And what does that mean? We preferentially attend to the news that confirms a dangerous world. We encode and we rehearse criticism while completely disregarding the praise that we get. And we interpret ambiguous social cues like a neutral expression, an unreturned text, or whatever, through a negative lens. From our subjective experience, we're simply perceiving reality accurately. Our attentional filters are simply rendering disconfirming evidence invisible. So the positive data exists in our environment, but we're neurologically predisposed to overlook it once we begin to encode this a certain way. So one empirically supported intervention to disrupt this pattern is systematic counter-evidence documentation. So each day, deliberately identify and record 3 or more specific instances that contradict your dominant negative cognition. So these must be concrete and observable, not abstract gratitudes. So for instance, if your core belief is, I am fundamentally incompetent, your entries must read something like, successfully troubleshot this database error in under 20 minutes. Colleague sought input from me on a strategic plan, or I prepared a complete nutritious meal. This practice, which is grounded in cognitive behavioral principles, actually systematically retrains your attentional filters. So you're establishing new search parameters, and you're deliberately broadening what your perceptual system is actually primed to detect. So our attentional system will always find what it's calibrated to seek. So the intervention isn't necessarily changing your reality, it's simply changing what you're equipped to perceive. So that 6-7 didn't become more prevalent, your awareness simply shifted. Same principle applies to evidence of competence or connection or self-worth. So it's important to note that this presentation is intended for educational purposes only, and it should not be construed as clinical or medical advice, nor does it establish a therapeutic relationship. So if you're experiencing persistent emotional distress, symptoms of depression, anxiety, thoughts of self-harm or harming others, please consult with a qualified mental health professional in your area. Resources are also available online and through your healthcare provider.